Mark Evans.
Emily Melise.
Okay, pledge of allegiance, flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, forgive me, I'm going to move around in the agenda just a little bit. We're going to start with Students of the Month.
So Jerry Price, high school principal, we have our Students of the Month presentation, but I'm actually going to start with a video. We had some students last year, they were sixth graders last year, seventh graders this year, who did an original production, and they wrote a song, wrote the music to go with the song, and then Mr. Leo Walter helped them produce it into a video. And so one of those students happens to be our Student of the Month for seventh grade, Sophia Lay. So we're going to show their video just as a kind of a fun start to our evening. For a group of sixth grade kiddos to put together such a neat song with the music. And so anyway, I thought that was very fitting. Sophia, if you'll make your way up. Sophia Lay is our seventh grade Student of the Month. For both servant leadership and classroom engagement. Our eighth grade Student of the Month is Genevieve Hubble. You'll just stand right there, sweetie. Genevieve Hubble, she couldn't be here today because today is her birthday. And then ninth grade, our Student of the Month is India Power. India, you'll come up. 10th grade, Opal Clark, and I don't think Opal could make it tonight. 11th grade Student of the Month is Aiden Overstead. And our 12th grade Student of the Month is Taylor Woods. We'll get a picture with these guys. Thank you guys for coming tonight. Parents, congratulations. We're just super proud of these kids. They are truly a ray of sunshine in our world.
And behind you guys. Of course.
Susan's going to tell us all the students. On three. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
And then for the high school, we're going to move on to staff member of the month, and that is Miss Erin Hamaker. For those who know Ms. Hamaker, she gives her all every single day for our students and just is an absolutely, probably one of the most tremendous educators that I have ever worked with. And that's saying something, Erin, because I've worked with a lot. And I really, really appreciate all you bring every single day to the students. You are so appreciated. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, hold on, we'll do them together.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, I'm Rachel Carruthers. I'm the elementary principal, and our teacher of the month is Miss Tiffany Lee. Tiffany has been a lot of things in our building. She has been a sub. She has been an everyday sub. She's been a para. She's been a teacher. She's been all the things, and she's someone who jumps in to help with everything. And as she's been teaching last year and this year, she's already leading her team. And she has an absolute heart for kids, and she's an amazing, amazing teacher. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, I would like to move that we go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Oh, I apologize.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Nope, we can't hear you in the back.
Oh,
Sorry, sir.
I'll enunciate. I just want to make a public statement. Before we go into executive session, I just want to remind everyone that the public is welcome to speak at any of our board meetings. You can sign up to do that on our portal, or you can come to a meeting and sign up to do it in person. We will call your name during a comments from the public section of our meeting. The requests to speak are limited to 3 minutes maximum per person, and they will not be heard if they involve a student or a staff member. Topics raised by the public will not be action items by this board, and there will not be a conversation about it. We will set a timer for your 3 minutes. You're more than welcome to speak. I just wanted to remind the public of that before we go into executive session. Thanks. Okay, we have returned from executive session. We met regarding,
I'm sorry, sir, we can't hear you in the back.
we are returning from executive session.
Thank you, Mrs. Price.
We returned from executive session. During executive session, we met with an employee matter. We, the board, chose to take no action as a result of that employee matter. So we're going to continue on with our board meeting. Oh, okay. Also, during that no action, we chose, there was no termination as part of our review. Okay. District update?
Finances. Right, Renee. Renee's gonna introduce Lindsay.
Dr. Roberts, through the Charter Seed Growth Fund, we were able to secure an additional amount of grant to hire a financial consultant for our school district through Charter Seed Growth. And through a couple of interviews, we decided on Lindsay Phillips, and she is amazing. She has a lot of charter experience. She's worked in this role. She has worked outside of, as far as helping schools with their facilities and finances. And so at this time, I'm going to introduce Lindsay Phillips, and she will share a slide that she has built for our school.
Great. Hi. Good evening. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Very good.
Okay, wonderful. You're all looking that way. I'm looking at you. So excuse some technical learning here. It's so nice to meet with you all. Yeah, as Renee said, you know, I've been able to spend the last couple of, about 3 months now, getting to know the organization, the financials. So this is a handful of slides we wanted to bring tonight, in part by way of introduction on the work that I'm doing, and then some of our early findings and priorities for this year that we want to pull together. So with that, am I in control of the slides? No. Would you mind going to the next slide? Thank you. So in addition to introduce myself, a few of our objectives today, really big picture is to review together historical performance and align on where Arkansas Arts is relative to some key charter school metrics. And we'll look and talk about a bunch of those and how they may vary by size, geography, and that sort of stuff. But there are some good benchmarks we can look at, and then we'll get into some next steps on some of the things we're trying to do as part of this engagement, and just much more longer term, including leaving the organization with a multi-year financial model and sort of strategic financial plan. Next slide, please. So quickly, a little bit more on who I am. I came to the charter school space from a management consulting background, sort of did all things finance, focused very heavily on M&A and growth strategy, and said, I really wanted to have more of an impact with what I was doing. I first started at a nonprofit charter school developer. So I was helping to finance and build charter school facilities through a lot of the West Coast, and also sort of Southeast area. Working with a lot of lenders in the charter school space, and then directly, the groups we were serving were charter schools. After a couple of years there, I went in-house and was actually a charter school operator myself out in Los Angeles. There I was running the day-to-day, like anything non-instructional, non-academic. So have had a role running HR, operations, school lunch programs, and then sort of course, always this theme around finance and facilities. During that time, the network I was with, we in about 3 years, more than doubled in size from campuses. So it was a really dynamic period. Um, is my connection okay? I just hopped off the screen. Can you still hear me? Yes. Okay. Sorry. I had a little lag, I think. Um, and since this time when I left working directly as a charter school operator, it's been about 8 years now. I have served as a consultant primarily to charter schools, doing a lot of these similar things and bringing some of that background to the table. I love all things strategic finance, helping to put together these growth plans, helping schools think about sustainability, in finance, in facilities, and they're always so intertwined. So. That is a little bit more about me. Thank you. So, maybe I'll start with a question. Back in, I think it was January or February this year, Charter School Growth Fund, usually with its portfolio members, has a third-party group, Afton Partners, come in for a financial capacity review. Did that report make it to the board, or does that sound familiar? Okay. Well, because I will just say, this slide is not all that innovative. It builds on a lot of the key metrics they pulled together in the report and looking at the FY20 through FY24 period. We added a few more metrics here for FY25 and really just brought this to a high level. So what we have here is, a 6-year snapshot of really high level metrics. And what are we looking at? Total revenues and total expenses, the difference of which we're calling net surplus. But really this is, are we spending less than we bring in a given year? And you'll see for 3 years, yes, for 3 years, not quite. In the last 2 years, no. And that's okay in isolation. And I think the broader point is sort of over this period, if you were to add all these up, it's really just break even. Like not much has changed. There is a method behind some of the color coding here, but a lack of a legend. And so, definitely sort of a best practice, right? We don't want to spend more than we bring in a year. That makes things really challenging. So less than 0% is red. And then some of those charter school best practices, Charter School Growth Fund would say, above 2 to 3% to 5% is really the target. That is for growing schools that are still establishing their financial reserves. And I think that'd be sort of appropriate to say where Arkansas Arts is in its life cycle. So kind of above 2% is green, and then in between those two is yellow. So still good, but maybe the target would have been a slightly higher margin. Any questions? No. Okay. I'll keep going. Oh, would you mind going back really quickly? Sorry. Thank you. So the bottom half of the slide just is another key metric and one, we'll start to talk more and more about, which is cash. And so you'll see on the bottom half, this next set of rows tracks year-end cash. And so over this period, we see cash grew, and that makes sense because we had 3 years of surpluses, and then it started to decline again, sort of back to the starting level. I didn't have all the historical financial data. I couldn't parse 2020s, but I did try to also show restricted funds versus unrestricted funds. And this is a really important thing to look at, because while, there is some cash here, a large portion of it is restricted. And what is restricting it? Sometimes this means we have funds sitting that were tied to federal programs that we can't use, that have a restriction on it. There's sort of a lot of things. Another large chunk of this number is actually tied to student activity funds. So if if there are dollars brought in for student activities, we really only can use it for those student, like the intended purpose. And so that limits what we can use it for. So a lot of times we'll look at this, and it's good to look at both snapshots, the total days cash on hand and then the unrestricted. Again, red is tied to anything under 45 days. Hopefully, certainly like under 30 days makes sense. I mean, given how school finance works, if um, we're under 30 days, and the large state payment comes in once a month, we are very actively in like cash flow management phase, right? Like tracking day by day, week by week on what we are spending with just like a high level of rigor. But the reality is it's also just really tight. I don't think many, like personally, I would say that applies to even 45 days. You start to above 30 to 45 days, you do have a little more breathing room. But most charter school lenders in this space or groups like Charter School Growth Fund would say, like the minimum we want to be at is 45 days. And so we have been there on a restricted basis, and we've been there on a total consolidated basis. But as we ended the year last year, we were not quite there. Okay. Any questions? Great. Let's go to the next slide. So, in one part, pulling together this information did take a lot of time. The information available and the reports available and just the accounting system runs on a fund base, like a fund-based accounting. And so some of the reports that come out of it are very challenging to read, just like with that same level of sort of clarity, right? Total revenues, total expenses, did we live within our budget or did we not? There are lots of transfers, there's the restrictions. And so I know I certainly spent a lot of time with Renee and Dr. Roberts learning to read the reports and learning to sort of convert this fund accounting into what I'd call just a more like P&L aligned format. And so we did that for the last 2 years plus this year's budget, trying to break down major revenue categories, funding categories, so like state, federal activity, school lunch building fund, and then major cost centers, right? Pretty clearly, salaries, benefits, a lot of professional fees, facilities, and so on. So hopefully this looks a little bit easier. This is a format like we're hoping to bring to many more financial statements that make it to you as part of upcoming board meetings. And the other thing, we wanted to look at was just, what does that mean, or where is FY26 and its budget? And so in the far right column is now the approved budget as of last board meeting, which basically shows, the budget balances. So, we're at 0.2% margin or about $25,000 on 10 million of revenues. So, again, just like highlighting, as we start to talk about some of these benchmarks, this is, we know, a pretty tight year overall. Okay. Wanted to show a few more metrics for this period. And so I'll go through a few of these, and I really have 2 more slides of metrics. But there was a few interesting trends to look at in sort of answering the question of like what changed over this period. And so the first is revenue per pupil. You will see how that has declined from over 12,000 to about 10,300. A large part of that is ESSER and federal funds. Another portion of this has to do with the timing of funds coming in. And so there is a delay, right? So charter schools are funded on the prior year enrollment. Enrollment in FY23 and 24 were higher than they were in 25 and now 26. And so as we, like, it kind of trickles through, and when we're dividing by the per pupil of that actual year, it kind of makes it look like it was higher, but it was fun, the school was funded on a higher level. But that's not to say, the amount, the sort of significant amount of like federal funds that were in there, one-time funds, things like that. Next, expenses. So, I mean, I think a good thing to look at and see here, expenses per pupil. I mean, FY 24-25, we know there were deficits, so obviously higher on a per pupil basis. But also, this also highlights the great work that I think Dr. Roberts and Renee did on FY 26 to right size some spending relative to FY 26 and the revenue reality. Next, like I'll highlight two more, and then we've already talked about cash, and we can get on to sort of the final slide here, which is looking at salaries and benefits as a percent of revenue, and then also facility costs. And I'll benchmark these a little bit more on the next page, but these are two other very commonly benchmarked charter school financial metrics. I think the first, salary and benefit, kind of a little bit more obvious. The second, facility costs. This looks at not everything it takes to run a facility, but either like the debt or like underlying lease payment to occupy a facility space. So this really is like your bond, or like when there's a lease, that is in the total facility cost. It does not include things like electricity or repairs and maintenance, if something broke, or, trash service or something like that. Notably, this is something not typically carried by district schools. So like this does highlight just like something that is that charter schools often see that doesn't compare directly to, more traditional public schools. And is usually like a pretty significant portion of the budget, like you see here. So I'll go to the last slide of benchmark. So some charter school metrics to watch. We've hit on some of these, but I wanted to sort of recap a number of these relative to what FY 26 budget either, budget says or like would project at year end. So target enrollment, I mean, enrollment is always so important to talk about. I know you guys already do. The reality of hitting enrollment this year actually just means it helps FY 27's revenue basis. I did update this slide since this was written, so I just wanted to clarify that enrollment as of today, or like of late last week, was 950 students, and the budget was built on 930. The 995 was actually just like I don't know what you'd call it, an overall target or a goal to hit, but the budget was built on a much lower number based on last year's actual revenues. So as we go and look to forecast next year's revenues, we would build that likely around 950 or something like that, but that is incremental to the current year. Next, we talked about net margin, salaries and benefits. I did here want to give sort of what is normal to see in charter schools as a percent of revenue. This ranges, they always do, but somewhere between 55 and 65% is pretty standard to see. Next, on the facility side, any like no more than 18%, but like it can be less than 12% depending on geography. And this is the facility cost is highly variable based on geography, right? I mean, just in markets that are both expensive from a real estate perspective and then low per pupil funding, they would be on the higher end of this scale. I think we're still working to collect some better comps of what's, taking place in Arkansas and then specifically, Northwest Arkansas. But we're sitting, certainly on the upper end of that range as well. Lastly, like days cash, we've talked about this with a 45-day minimum, but at scale and at full sustainability, a lot of charter schools and their boards might even pass policies that say like, we never want to be less than 75 days or something like that. The 21 days here was that restricted or was only the unrestricted number. And then the forecasted total cash was 28 days, if we hit the budget exactly as built. And lastly, net asset margin. This might have also been presented by Afton back in way earlier in 2025. This is, a proxy. I mean, this is the difference between your assets and your liabilities, and a proxy for sort of the equity in the business. And it's a measure of stability. And so for charter schools, 25% or higher is considered positive. I mean, I know on charter school growth funds scorecards, that is the number they put there. Um, if you had more cash, that your number would be higher as well. So it is heavily driven by cash as well. So I only had a few more slides that were next steps. I don't know if there's any questions. I actually don't even know if in Arkansas, can you ask questions while people are presenting? You can. Okay, I wasn't sure. Not in every state. Okay. Well, I can keep going, but please stop me if any questions. A few more slides. So this is one item and one sort of deliverable we're working on. This was an example I put in these slides, and we actually have sort of a slightly different template, but overall, I think the goal this year is to track in a really detailed way many of these metrics over, month by month, and start to surface these metrics to the board to see in real time and to react to. And overall, this is just about elevating some of that financial information to those key decision makers. So this version on the right is probably a little more sophisticated where we might land. We have a 12-month forecast built out that is actually already underway, and we already started looking at it with July and August actuals. So we'll most likely bring that next month for more discussion and reaction from you guys. But it will pretty clearly track, where is cash today, what are our surpluses, how much revenue has come in year to date, among other things. And just to close it out, I mean, specifically the scope I was engaged on, a large part of this, or the large part of what we presented today was just this first bucket on budget development and review. And I think we really spent a lot of time in here to benchmark because it is informing so many of these other items down the page, particularly as we get to model development and starting to talk about sustainability and financial targets. So I gave myself a check on that first one. We've actually worked a lot on the board reporting and embedded in the second scope as also the financial dashboard. So we will bring that next month for the first pass with you all as the normal financial package is presented. We're also looking just to create a few better reports or easier reports that help sort of look at this in a P&L format more clearly, just in the Power School like accounting system. So that might just save time and like the need to map stuff. And so, my hope is that it will become an easy report, Renee and the team can pull on an ongoing basis. And last and certainly not least, and actually we've already done quite a bit of work on this third scope, which is great, is building out a multi-year financial model. We've done a lot of the historical look backs, look at trends. Up next, we are really trying to dig in on like population and demographic information to help forecast what are reasonable and sustainable enrollment patterns, so then we can build the financial model off of that. We want to set targets, but also budget conservatively so that we're not stretching ourselves too thin in any way. you know, and as part of this, I think we've also gotten some more near-term next steps around some areas we really want to dig in. So enrollment was one. The next is facilities and just the total cost of the bond and the sub debt and what that means on an ongoing basis. And then last and certainly not least, you know, if we can continue to sort of free up some room in the budget, we've done some pretty detailed analysis on how to rate size the teacher pay scale, and sort of get that back in line with some key competitors. I mean, what everyone else out there is doing. So trying to figure out a way how to layer that in as we can create some more room financially.
Who are you comparing us to?
Yeah, yes, great question. We have two local charter schools, and then like the 4 surrounding school districts. And so, I mean, we certainly don't have like a plan. I think we've compared, you know, what would it look like if we went all the way to where the districts are? What if we went to, you know, some average? What if we just switched to like a comparable pay scale at a nearby charter district? So we sort of know the magnitude of what this of raising teacher compensation might look like, but I don't think we're nowhere near on saying like this is who we'd match to, or how we'd roll that out possibly over a couple years.
Sure, because you already have us in the red on salaries. So how are we gonna move to fix that if you're already saying we're too high? Facility debt.
So just
We'll
so
make
you,
it a facility debt.
I cannot praise Lindsay enough and Renee enough for their work on this, because we've never had this extensive look and preview at a forecast or really an analysis over time. And one of the priorities we've set all along is we want to raise teacher salaries. We're going to figure out a way to raise teacher salaries. We know the overburdened debt we have because of our facility loan and our facility debt. And so in the strategy of how do we achieve one with still the weight of the other, it's been a process to try to identify. And we know there's not a lot to give unless we are able to present this in a way. So we will be presenting this to some of our philanthropy organizations in a way. And so Lindsay is actually helping us with that presentation. Mark and Adrienne were on a conversation with some of our in-state charter developers. And so this is our process. Like, we know we have to, in order to do that, we have to address certain things. So
I want to make it really clear to everybody that's looking at this, and we've talked about this before. There was a slide up that said that we were in the red and basically saying we're spending too much of a percentage on salaries. But that doesn't mean we're looking to cut salaries. So that is not what we're doing at all. And I feel like that's the message that slide sent, that you are way overpaying in salaries, and we're not. We're doing all of this so that we can find room to raise teacher salaries. So I don't want anybody taking that metric the wrong way. And I think that slide might have been metrics for like nationwide charter schools. I'm not exactly sure. But that metric was in red, suggesting that we are paying our people too much, and that is not what we are saying.
yeah, well, and the reality is our facility debt, our overburdened
high.
debt is
Yes.
too high. And that's what's the weight of our inability to fluctuate and do the rest. But we are making great progress forward. We're seeing an uptick, but we're by no means where we would like to be. And so I think this next step is really helping us identify some target goals and be very clear when we have those conversations, that we have something very tangible and very clear.
And with
So
Lindsay's help, we've identified these things. Now-
Yep.
Now we know.
now we know.
And
Well-
even more than that, we can plan other things now because we're looking at forecast, right?
Yes,
So this isn't just, it's all encompassing and it allows us to make better decisions about, because we have a forecast.
yeah, and then we can also look at, net in. So any kind of capital campaign, any kind of philanthropy internally, any kind of work we do, we'll just continue to add into our net. And so Lindsay, again, I can't thank you enough. We're so grateful to have you with us and working through that. And I think if you want to finish that with next steps, I think this is our work moving forward.
That's right. And yeah, I mean, to help alleviate that room for teacher comp, right? Like we want to get through the enrollment, if we can maximize, optimize kids in the building, utilize the space really well, that provides an upside. If we can free up funds from alleviating some of the facility burden, that's more. So those are the things, and those are the first item, or like the next items we're still working through, and trying to collect some good data behind those so that we can, at the end of the day, have like a compelling teacher compensation strategy and roll that out over time. I don't think we know those exact answers yet, but. Great.
Any questions for Lindsay?
Thank you.
Thank you for all your
Thank
work,
you,
Lindsay.
Lindsay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Hey, Dr. Roberts, you want to go to the enrollment report?
Sure. We will proceed forward. Enrollment report, as right now we're sitting at 9:51. So, we are continuing to give tours, we're continuing our marketing, and we are, what's your goal? Kind of holding steady. Ideally, our goal is if we could get 970 would be great. We're not going to meet 997. So we're kind of holding at 951. As a reminder, our funding for next year is on the average of our third quarter. So the Department of Education collects enrollment on quarter bases, and then they'll do an average, and that will be the average. So any increases we have after this October 1 deadline, the first quarter, they will still count into our average. They'll put it together.
Quick question.
Yes.
Quick question. On the post-lottery intervention determination tool, it just says there at the bottom where it summarizes everything, K to 6. Is pre-K included in that 5-on-5?
Yes, so we'll give you a little background about this form. So we've never had the ability to look at our enrollment, or at least at the admin office, to look at our enrollment live. It's kind of been populated in a spreadsheet and it's had to been carried over. And so this form, although we're learning to use it, was from the Charter Growth Fund. And what they're training our registrar and all of our enrollment people to look at is the total offers, the acceptances, anything that's outstanding, and sort of a percentage, so we can look at it. And this also helps inform our staffing model. So pre-K is at the very top, and it's added in, but it is just not included in that little column at the bottom.
Okay, cool. That's fine.
So yeah. Personnel changes, we don't have any. Shall I just proceed forward? Okay. Child nutrition update. I am very happy to say that we are now Title I district. As far as compliance, Title I compliance is where we are at 45% free and reduced lunch as an average. We still have until October 1 for all of our free and reduced meal applications to be submitted. So we're making some last pushes to make that happen. We've reached a 50 percentile at elementary school being free and reduced lunch, and we are at 41% at high school. The breakfast in the classroom has been a big success. It started this week at high school, and it's a growing learn. So it's free to anyone. We wrote a grant to get a smoothie cart. So they're about to roll that out. So in addition to having to go through the line, we're going to have the smoothie cart and make it a lot more easy to grab, because that's the vision. Any child can get breakfast. They just grab it and they go. And that is a funding from the Arkansas Department of Education, and the legislators are funding that. So we get reimbursed meals for all the free meals. It doesn't, anybody can receive that. So we're growing the usage at high school. It just takes them a minute to kind of understand that it's free. And we're continuing to promote that and trying to make it something that is appealing and easy to eat on the run. Financials. You kind of got an overview. What I think you're going to really like with Lindsay and her help is the report metrics are going to come out. Hopefully, they're going to be something that we've not seen before, and also how it applies. This month applies to our longer forecast, and just see the fluctuation.
Just
That will
keep
be
in
nice.
mind, we are fund accounting. We are. And she's having to change some of the reports. So there will be times that, like, if it shows a negative, it's just because we haven't gotten the money from the state yet for whatever. Child nutrition is a really good example, right? You turn in your numbers later and then they pay you based on that later. So even though she's changing some of the reports to look like a P&L, we're still fund accounting. So there's going to be times when it's going to look like they've overspent and they really haven't, because the transfers haven't been done, or the title funds haven't come in yet. So
You see a
That's-
big
that's
red
what's-
over green, does that still throw a flag for you?
do what?
If you see a big red number though, does that still throw a flag, or you just? you
It
know?
depends. No, I mean, it's, these reports have the negatives too, and you just have to know which line to look at. So I think it'll be helpful if she's gonna take all that data and make it into less lines to look at. I think it will be helpful.
So,
But there's not a lot of red to see, because you can't spend cash that you don't have. Like, you can't spend money that you don't have. Most of our money's going to facilities and salaries. So like, and nobody's just out there with P cards spending our money. Like, charter schools just don't have a lot of money. It goes to mainly two things. And so, yeah.
And we can get into the weeds in this on Saturday. Like, we can pull back, and look into more options and conversations. I think one of the things that we all know we have to find a way around is our facility debt that we were sort of gifted, and how to maneuver that. And Lindsay's got some great ideas. Again, we're going to make some visit to some of our philanthropy funders, and so we've got some things to discuss as far as how we might have some wiggle room in there.
And what's hard about facilities too is, she pointed out that facilities number is only the debt. So we don't have bonds. Well, we have debt. Well, other schools have bonds, right? But we do have the debt, and it's only that. And we're looking at buildings, and Mark can talk more about this another time, but we're looking at buildings that need repair, and we don't have preventative maintenance set aside because we're a charter school. If we had cash to set aside for preventative maintenance, we would be using it for other things. So that number is, she had it in yellow. It really should be in red, because it doesn't include the higher costs for electricity and gas and all of that. And it doesn't include the water, but it doesn't include our maintenance. And we're looking at having some pretty big maintenance bills soon. So that's a number that, that's what we'll really have to dig into, is that facilities number.
Okay, so we've done the students and the teachers. We've got high school updates, Ms. Price. Oh, I'm so sorry. Pause. No, you can stay there. I'm super excited. The dance conference is next week. We're the only school they've ever had host in Arkansas. We're the first charter school that's ever hosted We are thrilled. This is a national conference that will be at Arkansas Arts Academy, September 25th, 26th, and 27th. We're bringing in attendees from across the nation that are museum educators, museum employees, doctoral researchers on museum education, teachers, art teachers, all of our community museum partners. There's a whole there's a whole group of incredible presentations that's going to be had at the both campuses. So we're going to actually bus anyone that wants to over to our elementary campus. And we're really excited about that opportunity. So it's coming up. You can always register if you want to attend. It should, we're really excited to have all of these best practice in museum education come to us and really share what they know. We're able to share our best practice. We've got about 5 different presentations we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing on artful learning, on sustainability. We're going to have our community partners together and do kind of a panel discussion on how do you partner with the charter school and lead museum education. We've got Erin Jones and Ann Wenzel talking about sort of sustainability and programming. And so we're really excited about that. And I will give you a great update the next time we meet on the attendees and all the feedback. We've got Crystal Bridges coming to present. The conference is partly sponsored by the University of Arkansas Art Department. They will be here. We've got our Artful Learning Connection coming to present. He's going to be making a really great announcement that's going to be news breaking, but to give you a glimpse, Arkansas Academy, it's going to be a model lab school for artful learning. So we will be able to host schools coming to us over the summer from all over. We will host that, which will bring revenue to our campus, but also will showcase the great work that's been happening at our elementary school. So that's a huge honor. And the University of Arkansas is working to give CEU credit, so continuing education units for this conference. So we've got some really exciting, great things in the work. Ms. Price.
Thank you. Wait on my slides. So our update is going to be very targeted and focused on our our 7th grade in particular. So we're just going to go through some of the things that we've done differently with the 7th grade and some things as we move forward. Go ahead, Michael. Oh, I have it. Thank you. Okay. So the first difference this year, we did something new. We did a 7th grade orientation, lots of positive feedback. The kids were like, oh, that reduced my anxiety so much. They were able to meet all of their core teachers, the parents were, and then the students were able to walk through their entire schedule. Okay, now we're going to advisory. This is what happens here, and go like all the way through A day, all the way through B day. It was a really great experience for them. And it really helped a lot. We got positive feedback both from parents and students. And then we are making a big change for advisory for the 7th grade students. We're developing a true intervention period where we've done preliminary testing on looking for exact skill gaps for every student. And then we're putting them in their advisory and giving them targeted work for the skills gap. And so we're using IXL primarily for that and just kind of developing out where they don't, in our other grades, they get to choose homework help, where they need help, if they're caught up and ready to go, they can go to an arts teacher. But with the 7th grade, we're being very targeted with the interventions that they are getting. And then that's for math and literacy only. And then the other part to that is that just trying to help them focus on healthy academic habits from 7th grade on. And we're doing organization and study skills and goal setting and some things in advisory that are a little more not as targeted in the older grades. So, yeah. And then we have applied for a high impact tutoring grant. We'll know if we get that in late October. I think October 20th is the date that they've set to get that information to us. we're requesting face-to-face tutoring for all 7th and 8th grade students in math that are at a level 1 or a level 2 on Atlas. And so Dr. Roberts put together a great plan for us, helped me with that this last couple of weeks. And so we should know about that coming up. And that's going to hopefully be face-to-face. That's what we're shooting for. And then we have a 7th grade parent meeting coming up in September. And basically that's how do we help parents help their students be successful in the high school or the secondary level and the middle level. And just working on helping them build consistent habits at home. We are working on homework plans for students in 7th grade. It's not going to be a whole lot, but every Monday they will receive a packet that is their homework for the week that parents can help them work through. And so just trying to develop some habits that, kids can kind of increase in that ability to have healthy school habits throughout high school. So yeah, so that's the main focus that we wanted to give you. And then we had our student spotlight, which we did at the beginning. So the other 2 students that helped with that were Mercedes Flanagan and Lila Vest. And so I just wanted to put that part up for you, but that's the song that we heard earlier. So do you guys have any questions for me? Super targeted, super quick.
Thank you.
Going to be more targeted and even faster. So our elementary updates, I'm just going to share about our quarterly newsletters that we have. We're trying to create systems all the time that are showing our professionalism as a school and having some consistency across all of our grades. So there are links in here so that you guys can look at it later if you would like to, but I'll just kind of tell you what they entail. So every grade, every quarter will have a newsletter that has the same look. So it's consistent, parents know what to expect. So it'll include their schedule, any upcoming events they have. There will be some behavior matrix highlights, things like, hey, if you want to talk to your kids about some things about line basics or about how we eat in the cafeteria, just some little updates on that one. There's some classroom wish list pieces. And then they also have some books that would be fun to read as a family or fun to read at home, and then volunteer opportunities. And then they have a lot of information about the current standards that we're learning, because I know that parents want to, they want to know what their kids are learning in class, because sometimes you ask and they say, I don't know. So it's helpful to be able to say, well, I saw that in math you're learning about this, this, this. I saw that in ELA you guys are talking about these things. So there is a summary for each of the major core content areas. And then the actual standards are all listed there, and it shows the parents which ones are essential. And then the last part of it is an artful learning overview. So our first quarter for every grade is our arts-based skills and strategies unit. And so it talks about which ones we are learning so that parents can ask at home and say, hey, I heard something about Zip Zap Zoom. Can you show me what that is? Or can you show me a Tableau or tell me what that is? So we're hoping that these will invite some communication between families, and then also provide some consistency, because if you have a kindergartner or if you have a 6th grader, you're going to get the same format. You're going to get it each quarter. The wonderful Katie Bowis is facilitating and ensuring that these are completed and making sure that we have some consistency and quality also. So it's providing a really great structure. So that would be coming out each quarter. Do you guys have any questions for me about anything with elementary?
We appreciate the help with the vocabulary.
Yeah, help? Yeah. Oh, but vocabulary helps in every subject for sure.
Quickly, I just have 2 more. Space Camp, I don't know where we're at with that, but we are requiring that the parents that go on the trip are fingerprint, maltreatment, all of that. So we haven't done that in the past, and that has honestly slipped our expectations, and so we're making sure that happens. And then all the parents that go on the trip will be shared out with the other parents, as well as the date that their fingerprint and maltreatment cleared. So we were very in tune to that. One thing that's not on here, and I'll go very quickly, and we can discuss this more in detail on Saturday, was we talked about doing we talked about the staff survey in one of our earlier meetings, and that was in May. And we kind of went over the metrics that I showed you, kind of how I addressed that. I recently sent out a staff pulse check, and that was just really for us to get a sense of where staff is at. And then we will send out more formal when it gets into like November, so we can actually have some time. But I wanted to get a pulse check. What's going good? What do you need help with? What are some challenges? So the results are here. And we can go over this, but for the most part, it was great feedback. We're always looking for ways to improve. We've got some really good ideas in here, as well as a lot of accolades for the administrators. So that is all of that.
You guys are not gonna know what I'm gonna say about the 37.
Yes.
Do they know we read this? Like, we want to hear only 37?
And I,
Do they know?
I've sent it out twice.
I have to.
so there is, I don't know, but all we can do is keep on and keep addressing and keep promoting and encourage the feedback. These are all anonymous, which I
We
think is
read
important.
this. We
Yeah.
read this whole thing. We read it. It was make notes on it.
It was important for us to make them feel like they have that space.
Yeah,
definitely
anonymous.
So that's all I have.
Is there, like a lot of it, you can tell which campus, but is there a way to split it between campuses or no? Or do you send the same link out and
I don't know.
I mean, for the most part, I can
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
There were a few.
Okay, looks like we have a few comments from the public. Before I call your name to come up, I just want to remind you that you have 3 minutes. And if your comments are about a student or a staff member, we will not hear them. And we do not have any conversation, but we will hear any comments from the public. So I have Holly listed here for comments. Holly?
She just.
Holly just left. Okay, Michael?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Currington. My son is a eighth grade legacy student here at Arkansas Arts Academy. My husband and I are both proud supporters of this school and of this district. We love the diversity, we love the inclusion, and we love the artistic approach to learning. Our son started kindergarten here in 2017, so we've been around a while. We remember when our school board members were voted for and elected, selected by a chosen few. We remember when most parents felt like their voices were heard. Now many are questioning the new 5 o'clock start time of these school board meetings. I want to make sure all of you know that we still have kids on buses at 5 p.m. So I ask you, how are those parents expected to watch or listen live to these proceedings, much less attend in person and present their comments to this board? Some feel that the schedule change is an effort to make these meetings less accessible to the public. I hope that isn't the case, and I encourage you all to reconsider the time change. Over the past 8 years here, we've watched our district and our schools change under Dr. Roberts' leadership, both positively and negatively. I'm happy to say that she and I agree more often than we disagree. Over the past 8 years, my family and I, we've had numerous dinner table conversations about leaving this district for a variety of reasons. But I'm grateful that we have it. Retention is always an important topic in these meetings. We all know that enrollment numbers equal our funding. But I'd also like to remind everyone here that teacher retention also affects student retention. Also, please keep in mind that the rules in our district's employee handbook apply to all employees. Those rules apply to those who are in our classrooms who are not certified to teach, and they apply to those who teach their own philosophy instead of the curriculum. I need not remind you that Arkansas Arts Academy is a school of choice. We, as parents, choose to send our children here. As illustrated earlier, our district's budget is not in the best shape. Our budget is directly tied to the number of parents who choose to send their children here. Please keep that in mind as you all make decisions that affect our children. I ask each of you to do your own research, ask questions, and demand answers from our administrators and from our staff. And I also ask you to hold every Arkansas Arts Academy employee to the same standards. Lead by example and show our kids that equality matters. I appreciate your time and service to our schools, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak here this evening.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we have one more person listed on public comment, Valerie.
Honestly, I'm just gonna touch up on some of the points that he said because I wasn't prepared for this either. This was as we know something's going on and we're not gonna talk about it, but I would like to say that we are in that precipice moment of, are we going to set a precedent in terms of what people can and cannot say, what they can and cannot like, or what they are being essentially forced to like or agree with in order to get along. I believe in separation of church and state, very much so, for the simple fact that let's try and keep things neat. Let's keep school here, politics here. But we are in such a, we can't avoid it, you guys. And I get where you don't want to talk about some things, but that's almost impossible to do when it means the possible loss of an educator, especially someone that the kids actually connect with. The children connect with this person in a positive way. And that has to stand for something. You know, we get these things where, well, they should have known better. We should have all known better. We all have those moments. Okay, but when it's done something privately, I'm trying to get around this so I don't tick you off, okay? So, but I'm like, opinions are not just opinions. What we should be focusing on is teaching the kids creative thinking. Critical thinking, not creative thinking. I apologize. We should be teaching them critical thinking. We should be giving them assignments where they have to suss out truth versus fiction versus opinion. That's what we should be encouraging. And I would like to think that we do it too, because we all have our set notions or what mom and dad taught us, right? What our community taught us, what we agree with, right? But we were also taught to have a certain sense of civility with each other, to agree not to disagree. And that can imply in some settings, but when children hear a certain name or see a certain color and they're afraid and they don't know why, they just know that a whole community is living in fear. That is something that's not a pizza topping. That's not something we can agree to disagree on. That's something that we need to search within ourselves. What are we going to do different about this? How are we going to set up our children today to be the leaders for our great-grandchildren that are out there? How are we going to teach them, go past this? Just because your neighbor thought this and your grandmother thought that, they could both be wrong. Where are we going to teach them how to figure this out? English teachers, go ahead and hate me. I want more homework. I want more papers where the kids have to go research something and have to, I mean, right now our museums are having history literally taken away, a part that created our whole mentality, and they're having it erased. I want you guys to ask what part you guys are going to play in this, okay, for my children, because I trust you with my child. And I want to know that even if you got, and I can't agree on economy, that's fine, that's okay, you know. But if I know that you're coming from it and you've got your points laid out, you did your homework, you did your research, guess what? I want to listen, and I taught my kids to listen to you. I taught my kids to respect you. And my 3 minutes are up. That being said, thank you.
Thank you, Valerie.
And can we do this later or earlier or something?
Okay, we need to approve the minutes from last month. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve the minutes last.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, for new business, we need to talk about the October board meeting, which falls during intercession. We do have to agree where to put that meeting. We have some dates here. The first week, second week, or the last week of October options.
Mm-hmm.
And we potentially could push November, but we would have 2 board meetings in November, right, Dr. Roberts?
Yes.
So does anybody have a strong opinion about any one of these that doesn't work,
The 7th would not be ideal for me. I'm outside of town.
the 7th is no good.
So just for me.
Anybody else have a hard one they don't like?
No, pretty easy.
Okay, what about the first week? I like the first week.
The 7th is the first one.
Yeah, that's the first.
Oh, that is the first week.
So
I'm
it's-
missing my date. So that means,
It's the
that means the
28th.
28th is how we keep it in October,
Yeah.
right? So that's what we're going with, the 28th? Okay, does anybody else have anything in the new business category before we adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Any opposed?